Welcome to another edition of Access Higher Ed. I'm your host, Christina Wynn with Berkshire Community College, and welcome to the show that talks all about different educational opportunities in higher ed here in the Berkshires and beyond. Today we're going to be talking about a new topic, well, relatively new to the Berkshires anyway. We're going to be talking about a one-stop complex or concept here in the Berkshires, specifically at Berkshire Community College. Two of my favorite colleagues are here with me today to talk about this new project and the construction and what it's going to mean for the campus and the community. So without further ado, Adam Klepetar. Adam, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Adam Klepetar. I am the Vice President of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management at Berkshire, and I've been here for 2.5 years. I previously worked at a university in central Minnesota called St. Cloud State for about 15.5 years before coming here.
Great, thank you.
Yes, John Law, CFO, Chief Financial Officer. I've been with BCC for about 6 years. Have been working in the county for 20 years in financial services beforehand.
Great, thank you both. So you're clearly a glutton for punishment in cold weather, Adam. We have a freeze day today here in the Berkshires, and the weather was, when you were coming in, probably -1?
-6.
-6, okay, and your hometown is probably close to that.
It was 33 below in my hometown.
Oh.
Felt like 57 below, so this is actually warm.
Balmy.
Yeah, the sun's shining. I was happy.
Excellent, excellent. So there's a project that's going on at BCC, and we've been calling it the One Stop. So can you talk a little bit about what that actually means?
Yeah. So the one-stop concept is the idea that we've kind of laid our student services, especially when a student first starts with us, out into a number of discrete offices. So when a student comes to BCC now, they would start with the admissions office. They need to go over to financial aid. They need to go to advising. They may have to go to another place to take a placement test. It can be a pretty long process for a student. And our hope is to reorganize into a one-stop so that a student comes, they check in at the front counter, and they could go to an office and really just stay there, and we would bring services to them. So one of the ways that I've thought about it is it's like going to an Apple store. So when you walk into an Apple store, somebody comes to you with an iPad. You might be talking about a watch or a phone or a computer, but they'll bring the people to you, and you'll be able to get all of your needs met in kind of one visit.
Great, great. So that's on the student services side, but I know John, being CFO and having been at the college for 6 years now, you've been involved with a lot of construction. So when you think about the One Stop, how does that kind of work from your perspective?
Well, as you indicated, we've had a lot of construction on campus now for probably the last 4 years. Hawthorne and Melville, the paving project, Digital Commons, many other projects as well. This is the capstone project for us, I think, for this phase of our growth. And it really takes an area that's not functioning well and brings it to the next level for us.
Great. And we have some photos that we'll show in a minute. But this project was actually kind of, in some ways, a gift from the state, right?
It was.
So we went through a competitive process, and we ended up winning the $5.1 million. So can you talk a little bit about what that process was like and what that means for the Berkshires and for us?
Yeah, this was a competitive process. There were, I think, 45 applicants, 6 awards. We were one of the 6. We pulled together a team on campus to go through the process and put together a strong proposal for it.
Great.
Yeah, the 3 of us were all there, but we went down to Boston and went to the DCAM offices. I'm not sure what DCAM stands for.
Division of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance.
Okay.
For the state.
Well done.
Very well done.
Teamwork.
We went with our director of facilities and some other folks, and we did a PowerPoint. We gave our pitch. I think that the fact that our project is so focused on students and student success and the student experience was really compelling to the state, and they really saw the benefit that this particular construction was going to have on the environment for our students.
So when you think about that process, you said there were about 45 other projects that were put in, and only 6 were chosen. That's a very small number to be yielded at the end of the day. What do you think it was about this project that made the state sort of say, we're going to pick this over that?
I think it was cost effective. It wasn't a new build. It was a renovation of existing space. Also, the student impact was very strong in the project.
One other thing is we've been working on this. When I came to interview, there were already architectural renderings. So we came with a very solid plan. My understanding is that some of the other colleges were presenting a concept, and we had a pretty tight proposal when we went in. And I think that just showed the collaborative nature internally at Berkshire Community College between John's division, student affairs, academic affairs. It's really a community that came together around this. And I think, again, for the betterment of our students.
Great. So One Stop is kind of something that, as you talked about it, sounds like something you see in an Apple Store or Verizon or something like that. But the way that it's being envisioned in this project is in higher ed. Is that something that you think is new? Is that common in other higher ed educational institutions? And what have you seen, and what do you think is coming in that realm?
This is a concept that you'll find all across the country in terms of engaging students, both in terms of onboarding, like I talked about before, but just overall student services. There are a number of different models within the way that we would do a one-stop. So we have a team that actually Christina is leading, that, and part of what we're looking at is what's the best model. So we have the physical space, and we know what offices people are going to be in. We understand how a student is going to engage with us. But there are internal processes, and there are just how we do workflow, that we're engaging our frontline staff and thinking about not what's just best in the industry of higher education, but what culturally fits best at Berkshire Community College. I think it's been an incredibly engaging process for our team, for our students, and again, really collaborative.
Great. So you said, John, that this is a project that we won for sort of at the state level in terms of funding. There have been other investments that have been made by the state from the time that you've been there, from the time that I've been there. Can you talk just a little bit about what you've seen in the last few years?
Sure. We talked about Hawthorne and Melville. That was roughly a $34 million project, including the renovation of our two key academic buildings and the construction of a connector, which helped with accessibility. The paving project was roughly $4 million.
Wow, I don't think people would think that our paving would cost that.
We have 180 acres of land, and it's a very large tract of land. And we were able to do about 95% of the hardscape through that.
And when people drive onto campus, that's the thing that they notice first, right?
That's correct.
So what do you think that the paving did for the campus?
I think it's something that everybody experiences, faculty, students, and staff, every day. So it's just a nice way to come onto the campus now.
I mean, it really I've had conversations with people in the community. Actually, when I first moved here, I got my hair cut, and I told them that I was getting a job at BCC, and she said, you better get your shocks checked because the parking lot is in such bad shape. So it's clearly something that people thought about, and now you don't, because it's smooth and it's easy to ride in on.
Yeah, it's beautiful. If you're just tuning in to Access Higher Ed, we're talking to John Law and Adam Klepetar, both of Berkshire Community College, about a concept called a one-stop that is designed to make the student onboarding process more efficient and student-focused. So we have a couple of images, actually, that we'd like to show. Some of them will indicate what the current setup looks like. And so here are some images here. Can the two of you kind of describe what it is that you're seeing?
Yeah, so this is the main hallway that students use to go to the variety of offices that I talked about before. So you'll see our Enrollment Services office, which is where admissions and the registrars are, and you see a fairly long line of students either trying to apply to come to BCC or alternatively register for classes. Then that's the image on your left. On the image on your right, you actually see that's the further line on the picture on your left, but it's a closer up on the one on the right is people lining up to pay their bill. So our hope is in the one stop, and I think you'll see this in the next images, that we'll start to reduce those lines. So more pictures of students waiting on lines. Now we're going to see the financial aid office. That I think that really long line again is to the billing office, and the one stop is both a physical representation of what we're looking to do, but we've done technological advancements as well. So students can now apply for admission online. Students can pay their bill online and check their bill online. Students, it's not that recent actually at BCC that students could register for their classes online. So the One Stop is both a physical reality, but there's also a virtual reality to what we're trying to do. And I think that in some ways it's just a shift in culture in the way that we want to put everything that a student needs in the palm of their hands so that they can do everything that they need to do in 15 minutes or less. We had an external consultant come and they secret shopped us. And Christine, I don't remember the exact time, but I think that for them to go through the enrollment process took about 5 hours.
Yes, it was several minutes.
And what we're looking, and they also, they gave us a breakdown of how much time they spent at each discrete office that they visited. And each one I think was alarming, not just to the two of us, but to the people who work in those offices. And our hope here is to really condense that time. I think one of the things that's really important to note is the majority of our students are first-generation college students. So the idea of what you're doing when you first show up isn't usual to them. They don't know. They don't often have parents helping them in the process. We also have about 80% of our students are Pell eligible, meaning that we're dealing with students that their time is really valuable, and when they're spending time with us, it means that they're not working or they're not spending time with their kids or whatever. So we really want to ease the process of the enrollment process, the onboarding process. But then as they stay with us, we want them to be able to pay their bill quickly. We want them to register for classes in subsequent semesters quickly. It actually ties in pretty nicely with what we were talking about with the hardscape, when you drive into our parking lot. We want students when they're at BCCC to be thinking about the learning that's going on in their classroom, how they're developing as a person moving forward, exploring the career that they want to do. We don't want to spend a lot of time worrying how am I going to mechanically pay my bill or register for that next class.
If I could pick up on one thing, the image on the screen, you see a kind of a long area at the bottom. That is actually currently outside, and that's going to be now enclosed because currently we have accessibility issues. If you enter the building from one side, there's a set of stairs you cannot navigate, so you have to actually go outside the building, go around to get where you want to be, where there is a ramp. So this is another big advancement for the college and for our folks.
And also on days where it happens to be cold, that you get to be inside.
So the timing's perfect today to make that point.
The timing is perfect. Maybe we can continue looking through these and describe kind of what you're seeing here.
So what we're looking at here is where a student would have, you'll see where it says greeter area. A student will walk into the One Stop and they'll meet a greeter. Again, our hope here is there are a couple of kiosks. So if a student wants to register for a class or pay their bill, the greeter can just say, you know what, go right over to the kiosk and you can take care of your business there, and we'll have staff that can come out and help them with that. Christina actually uses the language of a Tier 1 issue, which would be something that's very transactional, like paying a bill or registering for a class. If it's a Tier 2 issue, so a student really needs to meet with someone, we can then move them to the waiting area that you see over to your right. We've kind of strategically put our admissions and career folks near that area because if a student is new, we want to get them with the admissions people right away. But they might be just waiting to meet with their advisor if they're a returning student. And then behind the orange couch, you'll see an office that's really an open office. And here is where if a student has a number of different things that they need to do, maybe it's talk to an admissions person and then meet with an advisor, then actually register for classes. The student can go into one of those open offices, and we can bring the various professionals that they need to meet with into those spaces. I think John could talk a little bit about just how much nicer this space is for both students and staff as we go through the renovation.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that the campus was built during a surge of construction of higher ed in the state and really the nation in the late 1960s. And the building has been touched a bit, depending upon resources since then, but it has really gotten a little bit stale. And this is a chance to bring it up to a whole new level for the college.
That's great.
And you mentioned cold days, but another huge advantage to this space is on hot days, we don't currently have air conditioning, and the renovation will come with air
That is
conditioning
correct.
as well.
I know from firsthand knowledge that the staff are very excited about that. So here is just another angle. You can, and Adam had described the greater area. You can sort of see that from the front. I think if we keep going, so this would be actually where you'd walk in.
Yeah, and we've really talked about this as the new front door to campus. So I think that the idea of this being hospitable is really, really important to us. And again, if you think about this from a student development perspective, the first couple of weeks of a college student's career are the most critical in that student staying with you. So we want to create an environment that's welcoming, that's comfortable, that our students really feel like they matter with us as members of BCC. And I think that this development really puts us in a positive direction.
Great.
And here we just see somebody looking comfortable.
So John, can you talk a little bit about this space that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, this is because the campus is on a hill. Accessibility has been an issue for really since the get-go. And as part of the Hawthorne-Melville project, this concept emerged with additional support from the state. And we call it the connector, and it has become probably the most iconic, sought-after space on campus. It has beautiful views, a lot of natural light, and it's really an area where faculty and students and staff meet and pass and exchange ideas and build relationships. So it's been a huge add to the campus.
We have a couple more. So that's the other side.
Correct. This is the courtyard side leading down to Field and Kusavitsky buildings. And another area of green space on campus was added.
Okay, and just one thing I might add here. We used this space during our orientation in the fall for the first time. We actually had our faculty playing live music, so there was jazz going on. We were grilling for students. I guess here you say barbecuing for students. And it was filled with new students, lots of positive energy, and it really, I think, created an outdoor, as you said, green space environment that we didn't have before.
Great. And then we have the inside.
Yeah, this is the connector. One of the nice touches of this is a fireplace that warms up the space. It's used for all kinds of events, orientation events for students, outside groups, clubs, etc. And it really has become the heart of the campus in many ways.
And what are we looking at here?
Looks like an anatomy classroom. And it's an example of what we were able to do with the new furniture. We have all new classroom technology over the past 3 years, added to all of our key academic buildings on the main campus. And this is a flexible space. You can see that there's lab space in the back, and I will call it the Tom Carey concept, one of our professors, to add actually tablet armchairs in the front so students can move from space to space for different facets of the class.
I love this picture because you have that young woman in the back who's absolutely enamored with what she's seeing.
And this is the animatage table that our faculty use, and it's a realistic life look into a cadaver. So if you're studying anatomy and physiology, you can drill down into any organ, into any bone. You can look at the way that the veins system works within the human body. For people in the sciences, it's wonderful. For some of us, it's a little creepy. But the cool factor is definitely very high.
And how many campuses have something like this?
Very few.
Yeah.
We could be the only one in Western Mass.
Interesting. This is another classroom. I believe that's Professor Gary Bradway teaching in an engineering course.
And you can see that there's standardized, you'll see it in that next picture too, but there's standardized technology in every class that comes with projectors and smart boards so that you can do presentations and really a faculty member can go into any class, not just faculty members, we do it as well, give presentations anywhere on campus, and the technology is standardized so it's very easy to use for the user. I think that students really understand what's going on. Huge improvement since I've come to the campus.
And what is this space that we're looking at?
That is, we call it G12 in the basement of the SBA. building. And this was is now one of our prime meeting spaces for internal and external groups and combined groups. It seats roughly, I think, about 50 people in seats. It has state-of-the-art technology as well, accessible to the central circle for the college. And you see a meeting going on right now in the shot.
One of the great things about this room from a user perspective is it's right next to food services. So if you're running a meeting that requires a lunch or a breakfast, food service can come in and provide that food. We've had meetings that we've been in there for 2 straight days, so we're eating 4 meals, and food service can enter the room and leave it without interrupting the meeting. And we have excellent food service at Berkshire Community College.
We do. And I think this is our final picture. And what are we seeing here?
Professor Tyning with a group of
One
students.
of our favorites.
Absolutely, with our students in the Hoffman Environmental Building, pointing out at something outside the building. And this was renovated in 2012 primarily, and it's really set the standard for what was to follow with future renovations.
One of the great things about this picture from my perspective is it really shows the community nature of who we are. So you see I think you're seeing kids being taught in these buildings, in these spaces, and the investment in renovations at our college really benefits the entire community.
Mm-hmm. And when I had first come to campus, this particular space was kind of an eyesore. It was kind of a garage, and it was one of the first spaces that I had seen really come to life and be renovated. And now it is, certainly as we give tours, it's a hot spot.
Yes.
Great. Thank you, studio friends, for showing us those photos. So the campus is coming off a long way, and there's more on the horizon. Can you talk about where you see the state of the college going in terms of renovations and projects and really being student-focused?
We have an ongoing list of projects. I think at last count we have 44 projects, either large or smaller, underway, and we're looking to do all kinds of renovations around the campus. I mentioned the digital commons is one in the library. We're looking to take existing spaces, and we have a campus master plan update, so we're looking to take the elements of that plan and in a very logical way bring them to life over time.
Yeah, I think we're really lucky. We have both our President Kennedy and John, who runs project management, really see a vision for the college, and you see that vision is being enacted. And I think what's really wonderful, again, is that we put students in the center of every decision that
Absolutely.
we make. And we're just creating a better environment, a better learning environment, a better space to just hang out. We talked about the fireplace in the connector, and we see students just sitting on couches and reading. I think more and more of these enhancements to our campus are leading to better places for students to want to just stay on campus and not come to campus, take a class, and leave immediately. And that's something we really want to be a place where people want to be.
Now, coming from organizations that weren't community colleges and now being in the community college environment, what would you say makes the work that you do and the work that the college does in the community unique?
I was attracted to the position because of the mission of the college and President Kennedy, frankly, initially, and now all of my colleagues and the students. I just see our students as heroes to me. I see every day they come with dreams and challenges, and we're here to help them along their way. It's fulfilling every day for me.
I can't say it more eloquently than that. The only thing I'll add is I worked at a university, a comprehensive 17,000 student university, and one of the things that I found frustrating in my work there was a lack of clarity of mission. And when I started thinking about where I wanted to work next, community colleges were very attractive to me because you could walk into any office on our campus, and I believe that people will tell you that they're there to serve our students, and that we all see our students as heroes. We believe in the transformational power of education. We think that we're making our students' lives better, and by doing that, we're making the community that we live and serve in a better place. And I don't think that there's any industry that does that better than higher education. And I think community colleges have this laser focus on positively transforming lives, and there's nowhere else I would rather work.
It's a great commercial. Thank you both. In the few minutes that we have left, so just briefly, the One Stop project is one that, as you said, we started a few years ago and is now starting to ramp up, and we're looking at maybe getting started towards the end of the 2019 fiscal year. Is that right?
That is correct. We are working with our partners DCAM and Dietz Architects from Springfield, so we're looking to pin down that time frame, which should happen soon.
That's excellent. So students can start to see those renovations taking shape. And about how long does a project like that typically take?
They typically take longer than you would think.
Like all projects.
But construction, we're thinking at this point 7 or 8 months once the first shovel goes into the ground for the project.
Sure.
Yeah.
But 7 or 8 months to get the student-centered focus of the campus doesn't really seem like too long.
No, it doesn't. And I think by fall of 2020, we would see students coming in through our new One Stop, and that's just extremely exciting.
Great. Well, thank you both for being on the show today. It's been a real pleasure. For those that are continuing to be interested in the One Stop, if you go to berkshirecc.edu, the college's homepage, you can check to see updates and what's coming and all news that's happening at Berkshire Community College. For those that are interested in watching more Access Higher Ed, you can visit our YouTube channel, YouTube/BerkshireCC. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.